fans view this Saturday morning. Stronger the table's up too high. There we go, just bring the table down a bit. That's better, a more acceptable level, so I can see on earth what's going on. Anyway, how is all this morning? Celtic have their first pre-season game in Portugal, part of the Portuguese tour. It'll be interesting to see if Celtic have a formation change today. Today will be an important game. It's not going to be. We're not going to get a lot of questions answered by Brendan because it is just going through Celtic television. So I think it'll be once the games. So what was interesting about the American tour last year is we had a lot of external journalists asking questions. This season, this closed season, we've not really had that yet. We've had one game, the last game, he got asked some questions, but this one being behind closed doors. I don't expect too much information to come out of Celtic today, but there is some news. A forgotten man, Kwon, is gone. Yes, it looks like Kwon will be leaving Celtic. Celtic have set an asking price between 200 and 300 grand. How much did we buy Kwon for? Anyway, I did say that Kwon will be one that, even though he's came back to the club this window, he'll be like many other players. It'll be like a revolving door. It will be like a revolving door for the likes of Kwon, who will be coming in back to the club, do some training, and then be told, look, you're not Celtic quality, mate, just go and find yourself another club. So he's another one that will be leaving that midfield. The midfield, and you've got to say, if we're playing three in midfield, the midfield's starting to look a bit threadbare when you look at the squad. I mean, Kwon won't be in it. That leaves us Luke McCown, Arne Engels, Paulo Bernardo, Rio Hatate and Callum McGregor. 5 into 6 doesn't go, does it? Well, they say that James Forrest is a midfielder at Celtic, so but still, if you're going to play, it's an interesting one, but I still think they were a bit short in midfield, and I think Brendan will feel the same today. It'll be interesting to see what players do start the game today. Obviously, Kieran Tierney back in training, and as is Kasper Schmeichel. The other two goalkeepers have had a little bit of opportunity to show what they can do. Players like Liam Scales, Austin Trusty, is Cameron Carter-Vickers going to get a little bit of an... Has anybody seen Cammy? Has anyone seen Cammy at all? But the big one will be Kieran Tierney pulling on that pitch and coming onto the... And it was quite an emotional interview. Did you watch the interview with Kieran Tierney? Everyone would have. It was... Yeah, they're incredible, but we're still short in midfield. You know, if you want to progress, that you're running on the same midfielders that they've run on for the last couple of years, and that's not progression, is it? So I'm just saying, it's just an opinion. It's an incredible midfield, but we've shown the limitations that midfield has in the European context. And if we want to progress on a European context, there's no pressure on any of those players. If one's on the bench, the other one knows that he's getting on. There's no pressure. CCV's in Portugal. That's good to know. Your arse. Start chat like that, mate, and you know what happens? You get put on a timeout. Unfortunately. It is called the One Celtic Fans Room. We're all allowed opinions, and if you're going to call people names, you just get fucking thrown off the channel. I don't need that shit on a Saturday morning. Just being honest, do you know what I mean? Anyway, Kieran Tierney back. He done a podcast with Celtic in the Portuguese training camp with Celtic's Matthew Campbell as part of the pre-season stuff that Celtic are going to throw out. He joined Arsenal back in 2019, and he spoke about his time then moving to London. He spoke about obviously going into the COVID year and how difficult it was for his family not to come down and see him. And it was an interesting one that he said that he doesn't have any of his medals from his time at Celtic. His mum does. What a lad. That's what you want to do, isn't it? It's like, Mum, just go and keep them till my career's finished. And then I'll look at them again. And I think a lot of footballers do that, don't they? A lot of footballers just throw them in drawers and stuff. But Kieran, you can tell that he's wanting to treasure those champions winning medals that he got back in. KT Mr. Celtic, you can tell. But the fact that he said it was always about when he would return. It was never about if. It was never about if. Do you know, there was no if he was going to return. And I thought that was brilliant. And when he spoke about when he obviously went to Spain, up to the Basque country. And he's like, yeah, the Basque don't speak. And of course, the Basque country hates Madrid, as does the rest of Spain. But he loved his time in Spain. But he knew it was only for a year. So he went with that mindset that he knew it was only a year. So he knew he would be back in London, and he knew that it was only a matter of when. And it was interesting that Brendan Rodgers and Celtic obviously tried to get him at the last transfer window, during the winter window, but it didn't come off. Arsenal obviously want to keep him as a player, as they felt he was needed in the squad at the time, didn't they? They felt he was needed in the squad. So having a player like Kieran Tierney back, and him talking about it was easy to come back, it was easy to slip back in. The fact that Brendan Rodgers is here, the fact that a lot of the backroom staff are still here, and Tierney left us for money, never been the same category as Forrest or McGregor. And Kieran Tierney never really had much choice. Well, he did, because if you look back the history books and Kieran Tierney's interviews, it took him 4 days to decide whether to go to Arsenal. He didn't really want to leave Celtic. It took him 4 days. But the lure of the money that Celtic were going to get, there was obviously big pressure from the board, Mr. Lawwell, for him to take it. And the fact that the board would have said to him, do this, we take the money, we open a door back to Celtic to you. And this is why I'm saying this, because Kieran Tierney said it wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. Kieran Tierney said that in the interview yesterday that Celtic put out. So that means that the board, Peter Lawwell, has said to Kieran Tierney, like, go down to London, go and have a bit of a career, experience something else, and you will get back to Celtic. We'll make sure of it. So these conversations happen with players, and it's obviously happened. It's obviously happened with Kieran Tierney. And so what if he's made money? We all swap jobs to make money. Do you know? This nonsense that, do you know, it's fucking, he's no Celtic through and through. Every single one of you watching this channel's had more than one job in your life. Yeah, Paul, exactly. He was always going to return, even if Brendan Rodgers was not. Do you know? Paul, you've got it in one. I mean, Kieran Tierney said that it was a matter of if. It was never a matter of if. It was a matter of when. It was always about when he was going to return. Which then you go back to 2019. He's had a conversation with the power brokers at Celtic, and he'll say, "I'll go, but I will come back one day." And there's been a gentleman's agreement in place. So anyway, stop arguing. Get it. You sort it out, Michelle. You've got the spanner. Anyway, in other Celtic news, Celtic have been linked with a left back. Now, a lot of us were kind of saying, maybe we've got a 250 grand left back at Celtic. And the Japanese player, Inamura, that came in. He's not really a left back, but Celtic have been linked with another Portuguese player, a 21-year-old left back. And that's all I'm going to say on it, because Roma and Real Sociedad and Celtic have been linked with the player. It could be just the fact that Celtic are in Portugal playing, and I don't know. I just think it's very convenient that were mentioned at the exact time that we are in Portugal. There's been no mention of this player at all. But it's always the same at this point of the season. I mean, Celtic maybe are looking at him. But anyway, it is all about the game today. Let's face it, it is all about the game today. The squad, it'll be interesting to see if there's a formation change, because with Kieran Tierney coming back in and Jeffrey Sloop left the club as well as Greg Taylor. Kieran Tierney plays a different type of left back position. He's an old school left back, isn't he? Up and down the pitch. Him and Dyson Maida, I think it would be fantastic together. Seeing those two overlap on the wing, it could give us one of the most formidable attacking combination since McNamara and Donnelly, I would say. If they can get the togetherness that McNamara and Donnelly had on the pitch, and just have that intuition that they know where they're going to be, I think that it's going to be a fantastic season. And I think Celtic will score more goals this coming season than we did last season. I think it will score more goals, and I think that if we do keep a hold of Dyson Maida, I'm going to tip Dyson to score 40 goals this season. 40 goals. And KT to supply quite a lot of them into him. But anyway, when it comes to the forwards, if we do play a front three, Jamesy Forrest is in two. No, they've just changed it. Somebody was fucking about with the Celtic website there, weren't they? Anyway, Yang, Benji, Adam Ida, Marco Tilio, Callum Osman, Johnny Kenny, Lewis Palmer and Dyson Maida. I'm going to say at least, Kuhn's out the door. Why is Celtic still got him on? Did they not pen his farewell to Celtic on Instagram? Who cares? He's gone. Who cares? I'm sure that deal will be announced today as official, and Kuhn on Monday morning will disappear from the front lineup. How long will it take for Marco Tilio to get some game time at Celtic? And it'll be interesting to see what happens with him today. Screenshot. I still think if he could score 33 last season, he's only going to get better. He's only going to get better. Do you know? If he's in a position that he gets put into the middle of the park, he'll score for fun. Kieran Tierney putting crosses into him, he'll score for fun. He'll actually get it. He'll score for fun. I always make one prediction at the start of the season that comes true, and I'm sticking with the Dyson Maida one. Dyson, if he stays at Celtic, he'll going to score 40 goals this season. Mark my words for it. Celtic play him through the middle with the wingers that we've got, and Balwushka, the time he comes into the club, I think that we're going to score goals for fun this season. You've got to remember the amount of goals. I'm saying 38. You've got to remember we were scoring for fun when Brendan Rodgers played the first time at Celtic. If you look at the amount of goals that Lee Griffiths scored under Brendan Rodgers, do you know, it was a fantastic amount of goals. He wants somebody to break that record. And I think that I think that this will be the year that Brendan will want to break all sorts of records. Just saying. Anyway, I've Celtic put an update on the land of socials. I noticed that they said it's game day. Put the early tweet out as game day. Don't know what the weather's like there. There we go, Celtic. A little bit of cloud That'll just add to the humidity. It was nice to see that Kieran Tierney said that Brendan Rodgers is going to take the lads and take them a walk over the road, because the stadium that they're playing at is walking distance to the iconic stadium. The iconic stadium from 1967. And it's just a shame that John Clark passed away when Celtic are playing so close, because I think it would have been good if Celtic had someone from the 67 team over in Portugal with this first team of squad players, just telling them what's possible. Telling them what is possible in a Celtic shirt, because it would go down well at this. If you're wanting a motivational speech for Celtic players right at the start of the season, if you're wanting some motivational stuff from Brendan, and you take this current load of players, you walk them over to that iconic stadium. John Clark with the team in spirit today, as is all the Lisbon Lions, as are they all. And I just think it would have been something. But I'm sure Brendan Rodgers will do it. Brendan Rodgers will take the players over, and for the foreign players that do not know the story, he'll tell them about the time that a bunch of lads from Glasgow won the European Cup in the Celtic strip. And if that doesn't give them, do you know what, let's fucking try and make our own piece of history. Let's try and make our own bit of magic. Do you know, it sets us up for a fantastic season. Do you know, let's go and win the treble. Let's do the treble for these old guys. If ever you wanted to start off a season, a pre-season, where you wanted to say, and all the motivation that you need is to stand on the side of that park, stand in the exact iconic spot where they lifted the trophy, and just say to the players, dare to dream. Just dare to dream, lads. Let's make this a season to remember. Because if they can do it with their old leather ball that weighed about half a ton, yous can do anything. Believe in yourself. This is the season that we break history records. And it's as simple as that. It's at 11 o'clock. It is at 11 o'clock kick-off time. It is 11 o'clock. Just do this. See what Celtic have been saying this morning. Get an update on news. Chris Sutton's no entirely over the moon with Shin Yamada. You're expecting him to do that, you know what I mean? And then you've also got Celtic. A lot of people talking about the Portuguese under 21 left back. I think it's just because we're in the country that one's getting spoke about. Let's see what Chris Sutton's having a rant about. I love Chris Sutton's rants. He does tells it as it is, doesn't he? That was for the other day. Yesterday. I'm still waiting on Celtic doing some serious transfer business because the Champions League gives me the fear, says Chris Sutton. But I say that the midfield's short and I get slated for it. But there you go, that's Celtic fans for you. Chris Sutton reckons that the jury is out on Shin Yamada as a replacement for Kyogo Furuhashi. I think it is, but it's no surprise to see Celtic to continue to shop in the Japanese market, given the spectacular success of signings. That's not really true, is it? I mean, Quans came in and he was pissed then, he was pissed now, and he's leaving for 200 to 300 grand. There has been some absolute questionable signings that have came in from Japan, like anywhere else. But Chris Sutton basically says, we'll need to wait and see about it. We will need to wait and see. 1.5 million isn't going to break the bank. He might turn out to be another smash hit. No one is expecting another Daisen Maeda or superstar. We'll see when he arrived a few years ago, but it could be one in the making. His goal return's not much to shout about. He's a similar type of player to Kyogo, but we'll wait and see. The big man's not happy, let's face it, isn't he? He's not happy unless Celtic go out and spend on tried and tested, and I think that's where a lot of the Celtic fans are coming from as well. They want players to come into the club that are European standard level ready. Let's face it. The players that were brought in just now, he's Korean. Well, that's even worse then. He's Korean. Just goes to show. The Koreans aren't very good either. Sutton's got a cheek. I know, considering that Sutton was a disaster when he was at Chelsea. But he had a certain pedigree, and Chris Sutton had the history of when he was at Blackburn. Chris Sutton had the history of Blackburn of being a quite a prolific goal scorer and being able to set players up. So I think Martin O'Neill knew what he was getting with the player, and I think Celtic still tried to do that to a certain extent, as they find a player that's maybe had a little bit of a dip in the game. But the fact is the modern game, it's harder to try and keep that a little bit. Keep it a little bit this Saturday morning's got all the freaks out in it. I'm going to end up doing a live just members only chat. It's going to be the easiest way. Exactly, said the same thing. He had a terrible season at Chelsea. Don't get Shin Yamada just because he's dipped. I think that a lot of the Celtic fans and Chris Sutton are basically wanting players of a certain pedigree that they know that can go straight into the Champions League and achieve something. Yes, Paul, we'll get a look at Benji today. Definitely. We need a centre-back, midfield and a forward. Back to the biscuit tin. I would be surprised if Celtic buy any players at 10 million plus. They know Brendan Rodgers will be leaving. As you say, European standard players, but getting them to come to our league isn't easy with transfer and wages. But you can get players that have came through the ranks of European clubs that maybe aren't getting. You have to look at the Nico Kuhn Nico Kuhn scenario. You get a player that's went through various clubs, from Ajax, he goes to Germany, from Germany he goes to Austria he comes to Celtic. He's a bit of a journeyman, he's never made it into the first team, and he's never really hit the heights that these clubs think that he has the potential to have. Now, Celtic's business model is to rinse and repeat that model. Get a player in, get him at Celtic for a year and a half, 2 years, show how good he is on the Champions League level stage, and then sell him on. And that's the way that we do business. It's unfortunate, but sometimes you want the club to just think outside the box And it's fine being able to have that as a business model and rinse and repeat. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't give you the stability to build. If you look at any club that has success in the Champions League, they have a squad that's been together for more than 2 or 3 years. Keeping the core of Scottish players in the squad is obviously paramount to European football, but bringing in players that can take us to that next level, we just don't be able to do it on an ongoing situation. I mean, I still think that Alex Bailly at Como, he's going to rip the arse out of Celtic when he comes. We're all going to sit and we're going to go, yeah, you were right, Alex Como's going to be a player. He doesn't get picked up from Cesc Fabregas to go to Italy if Cesc Fabregas doesn't think there's a player in Alex Bailly. Do you know? So we'll just wait and see. We need a left back backup and a Wanyama type midfielder in the middle of the park. Poundland prices. Well, I don't think it's Poundland. Well, it's Poundland prices, isn't it? I mean, Celtic are just going through the motions just now as we sit and wait for the first team of pre-season in. That's nothing. Just a couple of notifications just came through. No. Celtic. Yeah, so there's a little bit of cloud at the stadium today. The humidity will be up. If it's anything like here when it's cloudy, the humidity will be unreal. But other than that, the pitch looks amazing, as you would expect. Cracking looking pitch. Nice tidy little stadium. Pity that there's not going to be any Celtic fans there, but it is what it is with this pre-season. Brendan's wanting to be as focused as they can. I think they maybe thought that last year in America there was with all the fans being at all the games in America, there was no chance to just really for the players and the backroom staff to just completely focus on what's going on the pitch before, during and after the game. When you've got fans there, you can it can be a bit of a distraction sometimes. And talking about Chris Sutton, and talking about his time at Blackburn, his old club are in town. Down this way. They're playing Elche, and I might go and see it. It's on the 25th. It'll be two teams again, 45 minutes each. Yeah, Martin, it'll be two teams because a lot of players, it's their first week back in training. So you've got players that have been they're in they're almost their third week of training now. But you've got players that they're just in their first week. So those players will get the first 45 minutes. Or those players might get the second 45 minutes just to see what they're like. But you don't know. The Celtic team will be announced in roughly around about 16 minutes or so. Let's catch up with some breaking headlines. Helena's getting grip. Jesus. Unbelievable. Anyway, do you think that the Kwon asking price of 200 grand is fair for the player? He's obviously a player that Celtic thought they were going to bring in, make better and sell on, but they haven't, have they? I mean, you would have thought at that price that Hibs would have went for him. If I don't know how he did it at Hibs. I suppose Celtic bought him for 700 grand. So they are making a bit of a profit on him. But he was brought in to play the Callum McGregor role, and it's not worked out for him. Defensive midfield player. St Mirren. It just makes you wonder why we went for him in the first place. Because he was never going to take over from Callum McGregor. I mean, there was always... Tomoki Iwata was in the position before Kwon was. I mean, Tomoki Iwata played the position... Some will say that Tomoki Iwata played the position better than what... not entirely 200 cray. Well, we bought him for 750, so... And he's never really been at Celtic, has he? I think he was at Celtic for maybe about half a season. A season at most. Baz, if Brendan stays, do you feel a 1 year extension is a bit of an insult to fans? I feel a 2 year extension is the minimum in terms of respect and stability. Iwata was twice the player of Kwon or twice the player of Callum. If Brendan goes, who comes in? Would you take Ange back? No, Ange just said he wouldn't go back. Ange Postecoglou said he will not go back. Ange never does going back. He said it's like once you've got an X, you've got an X. You don't go back. That's Ange's exact own words. Morning all from sunny Johnston, 25 degrees to get to 30 by 4 o'clock. And then it'll be pushing down by Tuesday for the rest of the summer. Enjoy. Kwon. Yeah, he was twice the player of Kwon. I never understood the whole why we brought him in. Because Iwata was always going to be the one, if anyone, that was going to take over from Callum McGregor, it was going to be Iwata. And he was a beast in the midfield. He just couldn't displace Callum McGregor. That was the issue that Celtic had with him. Brendan Rodgers staying, not a chance. I'm starting to side with Paul Baird. And I'm actually thinking the closer that we get to the beginning of this season without Celtic making an announcement, I mean, they may do it in October. They may do it in October during the international break. So there's two. I think there's two international breaks. One in September and one in October, isn't there? Watch out for those international breaks. If nothing has been decided by the international breaks, Celtic are in the background looking for a new manager. And if they're not, it's such a Celtic thing to do. I mean, they weren't prepared. They weren't prepared for Ange to give them the knockback. Let's face it, they weren't prepared at all. I mean, they hung on and hung on and hung on. Well, I think they were prepared. I mean, when we look back to... We've got 5 minutes to see if we could talk about it. I mean, if you look back to the picture that was released with our owner, his son, and Ange in the foyer of Celtic Park, that was the day that they knew that they were unsure whether he was going to sign a new deal. The bemusement on both their faces was like, we've just offered this guy the best deal ever at Celtic. Going to be the highest paid manager ever at Celtic. We've just told him he can get what he wants financially to spend on players within the remit of Celtic Football Club. And he said, wait till we get to the end of the season. And then I'll never forget winning the Scottish Cup with Ange Postecoglou, winning the Scottish Cup, and the camera pans to Dermot Desmond and Peter Lawwell, and their faces are tripping them. And that never happens at Hampden. Never. But then we find out later on that before the game kicked off, Ange told the two of them that he wants to talk to Spurs. Never forget that. Never forget that. Do you know, it wasn't after the game, after we had won it. He decided before we kicked off on the Scottish Cup final that he wanted away, that he wanted to go and talk to Spurs. And that's why Dermot Desmond and Peter Lawwell's face, they were like, fuck, we're going to have to find a new manager. Do you know, there's no forward planning at all when it comes to it. I think the decision's been made already, said Paul. Do you think that this decision's been made on the next manager? Will it be someone of equal or more experience? And will Celtic go down a European type manager route Anyway, that's a chat for another day. We've got a season. It's going to be... This question will... Celtic fans will talk about it all season. I mean, they'll not talk about all season. They'll get on with the season and they'll focus on it, and they'll focus on the Champions League qualifier and everything else. But if there will get to a point, and as long as we're still in the Champions League, fans won't really be thinking about it. It'll be in the back of their mind. If we get a good run in the Champions League, fans will be saying, are you signing a new contract? You know, when it gets to the transfer window in the January, if it hasn't been decided by then, the fans will know. The fans will know. The fans aren't stupid, you know what I mean? The fans, they won't buy the bullshit anymore. Do you know? There's plenty of time. We'll talk about it. It's either... But then you don't want to upset the apple cart, do you know? And it's one of those things in football. As managers tend not to want to talk about their career. It's like they just want to focus on the here and now. And it's like, we'll talk about that when the time comes. If he says that, that's it. It's done. It's done. When Ange said, "Don't get too attached to your heroes," I knew he was for the off. Yeah, he stated openly at the time. Yeah. Well, Roberto Martinez, I've already said that when Sean Maloney came back, when Sean Maloney took up his position, it's way below his pay grade, right? Sean Maloney is not a pathway manager. He's not a pathway manager. That's pish. This is progression planning. It's progression planning, and I think that John Kennedy. I think if Brendan goes this time, John Kennedy will go, and Celtic will want a refresh. Do you know, John Kennedy's been a fantastic servant to the club, but Sean Maloney coming in as pathway manager, for me, now, Roberto Martinez it's not the first time that he's been linked with the Celtic job. Do you know, and it could be the fact that Celtic have went, right, Sean, you know, Roberto, what's the chances? Tell you what, you're not working just now. Come and work for the club just now. And doing what? Pathway manager. I'll fucking make up a position. Pathway manager. You're the go-between between Celtic and these international, these European clubs. And you're going to be talking to European clubs about prospect of taking our players on loan and maybe pathways for younger players to then come to Celtic at a later date. All in the meanwhile, knowing it's a case of progression planning, and it could be the one and only time. It could be the one and only time that Celtic have done it in a long time. But that's wrong, because they did it with Gordon Strachan. Gordon Strachan was always going to be the manager after Martin O'Neill. Gordon Strachan thought he was going to get the job a year earlier, and he didn't. Martin stayed on for another year, but that was always in the plan in that one. The Martinez one fits the bill. It fits everything about Celtic, and it could be. And if it does happen, remember we spoke about it here first. We, not me. We. The royal we. I think Martinez's wife is Scottish. She might want to come home. Yes, she is. She is. Goodson. Do you think so? Goodson? I'm not too sure. You need someone with a Scottish and a Celtic connection. You've got Sean Maloney in place already. Do you know? And he done well with Sean Maloney as his number 2 before. But you never know. Goodson can't get a tune out of Bodo. There's no reason he can come to Celtic. Yeah. Not far away now from kick-off. not kick off. It's an hour and 19 minutes to kick off, which means that the Celtic team will be out shortly. And I better set up a window. Image. For the team. Far cheaper to let a manager leave, hopefully get some compensation than pay him off. Not a chance of Martinez. Damien Duff, an outside bet? Nah. Damien Duff left his last club. Why is Kennedy never took over his manager role? Because when Kennedy's had the chance, he's not been very successful. When managers have left the club and Kennedy's stepped in, he's not a Kennedy's not a motivator. Look at him at the side of the pitch. He spends 90 minutes like this. Folk on the bench were like, what's that creepy bastard doing? Nah, he's not a motivator. He's not a manager. He's not a Celtic manager. Nah, John Kennedy is a number 2, but he's not a Celtic manager. John Kennedy, not a chance. I just don't get it. Fantastic where he's been, but he's not a Celtic manager. It's always good in the morning when Saturday morning you get folk that subscribe, come on, try to give you a bit of abuse, and then when you kick them off, they unsubscribe. You only subscribed this morning, you idiot. Kennedy not good enough to be manager. Nah, not a chance. Ange stood at the side of the pitch just like Kennedy. No, Kennedy sits on his arse for 90 minutes and looks grumpy. Kennedy doesn't stand at the side of the pitch. He sits on his... Watch this game today. Watch Kennedy and keep... You never see Kennedy standing at the side of the pitch. Never. Greetings from County Clare. Hope all's good over there. Nico Kuhn's coming out and said the decision was easy to leave Celtic. Who cares? Nico Kuhn's not getting a word. That's the last time that he's mentioned on this channel. The Celtic sites will be all over it. All over the Nico Kuhn narrative. Let's see what Nico Kuhn says. Nico Kuhn downed tools when Jota walked in the building. So let him just leave him at that. Let him just disappear at the club. Celtic shouldn't even admit that he's gone. They should just take him off the sheet. Just take him off. Just don't even say that Nico's left the building. Anyway, the team will be out in roughly about a minute's time. I'm looking forward to seeing this team because it is one that... It's a lot of anticipation with this lineup today. Because is there going to be a change of formation? Is he going to go with 4-3-3? Is he going to go with a 4-2-3-1? You know, there's a lot of permutations on potential lineups for Celtic this season. And I think if Celtic do want to change it up league-wise, a change of formation would be exactly what they want. Come on, Celtic. And there we go. Sinisalo, Donovan, McPherson, Trusty, Tierney, McGregor, McCowan, Hatate, Telio, Dyson Maeda and Osmond. Wow, what a team. What a team to start for Celtic. I wasn't expecting that, to be honest. There is a lot of the youngsters still travelled over. Let's get this team up. I've got to admit, I was shocked. Don't freeze now. And team on the screen. Let's get the full team up there. You see Dohan, Clark, Rice, Scales, Benji's on the bench, Adam Ida's on the bench, Yang's on the bench, Johnny Kenny's on the bench, Inamura's on the bench, Engels is on the bench, Summers, Montgomery, Uri, Murray, Dane Murray, Forrest, McCardle, Ranson and Izuguzu. So Brendan Rodgers decided not to use a lot of the first team players that are just back in training this first week. He is still going down the road with quite a lot of the younger players. But what about that back line? Kieran Tierney back on the pitch. He's going to walk out today on that pitch with the Celtic top on. It's going to be an emotional time for him. His first piece of action in the Celtic strip since 2019. Absolutely brilliant. It'll be quite emotional for him and his family. Quite emotional. Tilly on Last Chance Saloon. What a team, eh? Jesus. You've got to admit, Celtic have surprised us, to say the least, with that team. They've definitely surprised me anyway. I thought that they would have went with some of the players that are just coming back, but obviously not. Obviously deciding, do you know what, we're going to give you just a little bit more time off. Engel's on the bench, Kenny's on the bench, Scales is on the bench. It's going to be one of those interesting games where, let's face it, nobody will really know what the hell is going on. Just change that for that one. Let's just went far, it was too big. There we go, that's better. It's good to see young Ricardo being over in Portugal, Dane Murray. That's obviously the full complement of younger players that were taken over. So looking at it from the B team perspective, Ben Summers, Adam Montgomery, Ricardo, Izaguzu, Uri, young Rice as goalkeeper. Do you know that's 6 on the bench from the B team? Then you've got Donovan McPherson starting the game. So Brendan Rodgers obviously given the two guys in defence a bit more game time to see exactly where they are in relation to, I mean, because it's quite a first team. I mean, when you look at the rest of it, I mean, Sinisalo, Tierney, first team. Trusty, first team. McGregor, McCowan, Hatate, Tilio, Maeda, Osman through the middle. So we're going to see how good Marco Tilio is today. We're going to see if he's improved as a player, if he can get the ball into Osmond. It's a big game for the young lad, for Callum Osmond. It's a massive game for him because he needs to stick the ball in the back of the net. You know, and if he doesn't start scoring goals, people will start saying, what was the point in bringing him in? We still need a first choice striker. Putting Dyson out on the wing is Brendan's backup. Just hope Celtic TV is up to it. Turley and Frame must be going out on loan. Yeah, they must be because they're not even on the bench. So it's either that or... Yeah, they must be going out on loan because that's two players from last season that you were expecting maybe have a chance of getting in. Will it be a full swap at half time like the other two games? More than likely, because Brendan will be wanting to see as much of these players play against Portuguese opposition as he can. And he's went the way that I kind of thought he would with the first team. It's like get the first team players out the first half, get them 45 minutes. I mean, Hatate, Dyson, Tierney, Tilio, give them 45 minutes. Let's see if they're up to speed. Let's see how fast attacking football this team plays, and it'll show the players on the bench that are going to come on the second half. This is how you play. You know, he's been very clever with the starting 11 on this one, because he's only brought in a couple of the younger players. So it's like just integrate them slightly rather than making sort of two different teams with, you know, it's a case of this is him trying to get, and there's no change of formation. I mean, you could definitely say that. It's a 4-3-3 formation that he's went with this one at the beginning, which is going to be interesting because Tierney doesn't come inside as much. Have they been training that into Tierney to come inside? Does it take away anything from Tierney? Does it take away from the type of football that he plays? It's going to be an interesting first half for sure. I'm interested to see how it pans out. I mean, Adam Eder getting left on the bench, Scales on the bench. You see them on in the second half. Forrest, Ralston, Ross, Yang's on the bench, Johnny Kenny. So I mean, there's not a lot. Where's Paulo Bernardo? Where is Paulo Bernardo? Has anyone seen Paulo Bernardo? Has anyone seen Paulo Bernardo in training? Because you would expect Paulo Bernardo to start being in and around. Because I mean, he wasn't playing. He was playing international football, but surely he's back training with the first team. Interesting one. And it's interesting that Kasper Schmeichel isn't on the bench, or even where's Palma? Palma's probably away back to South America. He was on international duty, Palma, wasn't he? So, like, Palma's still on holiday, yeah, because Paulo Bernardo was playing for the under-21s in the first week of July. Louis Palma was also playing with his national squad the first week of July, as was Alistair Johnston, and then Alistair Johnston left the international break and went on and got married. So fair play to Alistair Johnston. So yeah, they ones are still, so they're not there. Bernardo just won't. He will be match fit. He was still playing international football the first week of July. Bernardo's probably fitter than the rest of them, because let's face it, the rest of them have had 4 weeks off. Paulo Bernardo's only had, a week and a half off as it stands just now. Bernardo would have joined the team when they arrived in Portugal, so he's not fit yet. We're all football coaches. He was playing the first week. Go and look it up. He played the first week in July for the Portuguese under-21s. So he's still on his holidays. But anyway, it's going to be an interesting one, this game today, because the second half will be nothing like the first half. If Brendan does go down the road of making wholesale changes, this is obviously to get the team starting to mould into how Brendan Rodgers is going to want it playing, and it does look as if he's still going to go for a 4-3-3. So watch Kieran Tierney today to see how he does with that. It's only going to be 45 minutes. I know you're not going to learn a lot in 45 minutes, but you may that. Or is there going to be some other kind of formation? That's a 4-3-3 all day long. It's the tried and tested. But you never know. You never know with Brendan. Jota pays tribute to former teammate Diogo Jota. Just catching up with that news. This second just woke up from work. The team's on the screen. Are the teams out yet? Alistair Johnston's been playing for his national team. Yep. It will be interesting the second half. Yeah, that's a good shout actually. The second half it will be interesting with Arnie Engels coming on in that midfield role. Will Callum McGregor come off, or will McGregor stay on? I think McGregor will come off, won't he? But then no, McGregor will stay out, because then you'd have to give. You could give Forrest captaincy. Forrest captaincy the second half, since one of the best defenders ever to be come through the Celtic ranks isn't there anymore. He's back in Glasgow nursing his shoulder. Stephen Welsh, my goodness, Stephen Welsh. I feel sorry for him. Because this would have been the season that he would have got a move away from Celtic. First pint of water down. Only 5 to go during the day. So anyway, right, that is us done and dusted for this morning. That is the team. The team is out. There's no point analysing it for too much longer, because Brendan Rodgers, it looks like he's going to make a full complement of changes in the second half. Starting team today: Sinisalo, Donovan, McPherson coming up from the B team, Trusty and Tierney giving you a bit of stability and experience at the back, although people will say Trusty. It'll be good to see Tierney playing beside Trusty. Callum McGregor in the midfield with Luke McCowan going further forward, and Rio Hatate doing what Rio Hatate does, gives us the midfield three, and then the forward three, meaning that Brendan Rodgers isn't going with a change of formation as yet. He's got Marco Tilio, Marco on the wing. This is the game where Marco's basically fighting for his Celtic career. He needs to prove that, one, he's improved as a player, and two, that he's up for the fight for staying at Celtic, because if not, I think he will be sold. But then again, it could be the fact that we're lacking first team players, that Marco was always going to get some game time, so that the Brendan Rodgers can assess on where the players are. And I've got to admit, when Marco played at Celtic, we have faith in you, Marco Polo. When he played for Celtic at Celtic Park, he had some good feet movement, and he managed to cross the ball. And I thought then, he's got the potential to be better than Kuhn. But there was obviously things going on in the background with him. The kick-off's in 1 hour and 2 minutes time. 1 hour and 2 minutes time from now. 11 o'clock. So yeah, who do you think the score will be today? We got the scores completely wrong the last game. Well, someone got it right, 2-1. I'm going to go Celtic win 3-0. There I'm going to go. I'd rather Tilio than Yang around the first team. Yeah. Yang managed to impress a lot of people last season, but I was never impressed with him. A 3-week run just because you're getting your Nat King Cole, as Brendan Rodgers says. He started producing the goods when his bird was over. That says it all, doesn't it? Michelle's going for 4-1. Kingston Boys going for 2-0 Celtic. Stephen Johnson's going for 3-2 Celtic. Mon the Tick Mick is going for 3-1 Celtic. Scoosh is going for 4-0 Celtic. 0-0 with that front line. How can you say 0-0 with that front line? That front line is immense. Marco Tilio, Dyson Maeda and young Callum Osmond going through the middle. I mean, if Callum Osmond cannot score goals today with Dyson Maeda putting the ball into him, the guy should not be in Celtic first team. Callum needs to score a minimum of 1 goal today. The service that he should be getting today from Marco and Dyson will be second to none. He'll never have had service like this in his career. It's the day for him to stand up and go, I am a goal scorer. And so, 0-0. And there's Aussie John's going for 3-1 Celtic. Robert Gibson's going for 1-1. Paul's going for 2-1 Celtic, away win. Paul Baird's going for 6-1. 6-1? Could we get an emphatic win like that today? Nice early game in Portugal before it gets too hot. 12 o'clock kickoff. No, it's 11 o'clock in Portugal because they're on the same time zone, aren't they? Are they? Yeah, they are, aren't they? As long as you cross the border into Spain, the time zone changes. Your comment covers the team graphics, and then it would cover me. Oh, it's covered with the team graphics. Oh, I got you there. Do that and then that. That should be it, shouldn't it? Needs to go up a bit, doesn't it? Anyway, right, Bobo Glint reached the semi-finals of Europa League with a turnover around 25 million, but we are not in the Europa, and that is not our standard. A bit of locker banter from Rogers divulging that Young's girlfriend was over. Aye, yeah, definitely. Enjoy the game, folks. I'm off to do my birthday at 5-0 scoreline. AGS Tech scored for 0-0. It's 11 a.m. Parkhead. Yes, it's 11 a.m. Parkhead time. The Forestman bangs in a few goals today. Marco plays as good as Kuhn. Is Celtic transfer business done? No, Del Boy, it's not. We're still going to bring in a striker, we're still going to bring in a winger, we're still going to bring in a midfielder, and we're still going to bring in a defender. There's still a minimum of 4 players to come into Celtic this transfer window. I say minimum. I think there could be more. There could be way more. We don't want to be in Europa. No, we don't want to be in Europa. We want to be in the Champions League, because the Champions League where it's at. And if we go in, here's the scenario for you. If we go into the Europa and the Sevconians manage to get into the Champions League, they're only 2 seasons away from levelling out cash-wise, but then you don't even want to think about that. So we just want to get into the Champions League because that's where it is at. And I think Celtic have got a good chance of improving on last year's Champions League. But then it all depends. It all depends. You missed the point, Baz. Step up for 25 million turnover, jump into Celtic in the Champions League. Yeah, I know what you're getting at. But Wishka agrees deal apparently. No idea if that's true though. Yeah, there's a few sites saying that it is deal agreed, but until he's booked in for the medical and until certain people have said it is done deal, we'll wait. You never know. Celtic might release something right after the game today. It's probably going to be that Nico Kuhn has left the building. Anyway, on that note, have an absolutely fantastic day. I will be around after the game today. I'm not going to come on at half time. I will be on straight after the game today to analyse what the hell we've just watched. And let's hope it's not as bad as that. Have a fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world.